What do you want?
Unreal. All right, I'm gonna hit stop here because I got the levels now. Right? All right, so let's do this, man. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Real Estate Roundtable. I don't know which episode this is. This might be like 7 or 8. It's been a while. Let me turn the music down here a little loud there. But really excited about today's episode because if you're a realtor out there and you are wondering about IDX and what that all is, we've got a good special guest here for you today. If you want to reach out to the show, please reach out to me by visiting my website at www.valuethisonrealestateshow. And from there, connect with me on any social media platform. I'm Jayson Bates. And as always, we have the one, the only Jorge Cuervas. How you doing, buddy?
Hola and ¿cómo estás? From Chicago. Glad to be here again on the last show for the new year, for the year, right?
Yeah, last one for the year. Last one. Next week's kind of right there at the, Christmas Eve kind of deal. So we figured we'd just postpone it until January. And then we also have here Mr. Dave Mason. How you doing, buddy?
I feel like I'm on the Brady Bunch. You got the squares up top. I'm on the bottom.
You are, except you're the adopted child, I guess.
Yeah. I see you haven't shaven in a while either, Jayson.
No shave November, went to don't shave December, and then just keep it January, I think is
keeping it real.
Just keeping it real, man.
It's good. I like that.
It was a lot longer. I trimmed it down a little bit because my wife was getting a little frustrated, but I'm probably going to shave it off here this week, to be honest.
You get the same problem I have. I got these like gray at the bottom here. I should get that stuff Keith Hernandez uses.
What is that?
A little touch of, what is it? Touch of
the beard. Hey,
brush it on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm going for the peppered look. Hey, but let's jump into this, Dave, because you have a company here, I Found Agent, right? In Phoenix.
Yep.
But we talk about a lot of how agents get exposure, what they need to do, how they need to do it. You're kind of the master at that, if you will. But before we get into that too much, tell me your background. Tell everyone your background, where you come from. What got you into this space, if you will.
It's kind of I actually was a real estate agent for 12 years. Did very well. That's kind of all I did right out of college. I got bored, so I decided to go into mortgages. And I had a mortgage company called getprequalified.com. And we really got very interested in lead generation, because what we would do would be, for our agents, we would generate the leads online, and we were able to give them pre-qualified leads. So that's kind of how this all got started. And at that point, this is 10 years ago, we're looking at all the data in MLS, which I'll do a little geek speak. It was iframed data, which is useful for a consumer, but for the website owner, it doesn't help you get found online. And it was just sort of like, wouldn't it be great if we could take all this data and make it searchable? Because at the time we were writing articles or content one at a time. And there's probably still, if you look at getprequalified.com now, there's over 1,000 articles. And that took, that was quite an undertaking. So, it's like, what is it? There has to be another way. And, we really started a quest for, how do we take this data and make it usable in a way that's useful to the website owner or the real estate agent, or in our case, we're just trying to use that data to expand our web. So we could, get more traffic to our website and more leads. So that's really what it was all about. And we've created a really unique piece of software that really has revolutionized how you can use data for your website. So right now we're in some limited areas, and excited about. We're just got a new CRM connection we'll be able to launch January 1st. So it's really going to give agents a unique way to use the data, but also in a time-efficient manner. I was an agent. I understand it is to be busy, and it has to be quick and has to be efficient. So that's the short version.
Yeah, no, that's that. So you've got a lot of experience. Obviously, you're, like you said, you kind of framed yourself as a geek, right? Some geek speaking there, but you do some of the geeky side, if you will, of real estate. And that's really kind of the trend, right? I mean, a lot of realtors aren't into the technical side. That's where you kind of come into play.
Yeah, well, it's like I remember when the iPhone came out, I had a Palm Trio, which I mean, at the time I loved it. But when you take the Palm Trio and put it next to the iPhone, you realize how cruddy your Palm Trio is, like that fast. Right. And that's really what we've been able to do with IDX. We've redesigned it to be used in a whole new way. And people have that experience. Wow, this is really easy to use. So, right. Working on your website does not have to be this chore. It becomes part of your business. So, really getting away from your MLS, because when you're using, not that it's bad. There's nothing I'm saying here is bad or wrong. It's just, if I'm an agent, I want to brand myself. I want to put myself in front of as many people as possible. So why not do it on your own website? Set the searches up on your own website and get even a bonus value of maybe someone else can find that in Google versus I'm going to send the search out to my buyer and then that's the end of it and armless. And, which is fine, but, there's more available. And that's really what we've been able to accomplish over the last 5 years.
And explain real quick here for me, and Jorge, you can jump in, but explain for everybody listening, because I do put this on my podcast, and not everybody knows what IDX is. So explain IDX real quick, if you would, for me.
So IDX stands for Internet Data Exchange, which is just a real, to break it down simply, it's just, that's the tool that allows a consumer to look for properties on an individual agent's website or a team site or maybe a company site. That we just use the data out of Armless. So
very cool.
Yeah, and so this becomes like a big question for a lot of agents. And the question is, number one, do I need a website? Is the first question. And then when you answer the question, okay, yes, if the answer is yes, which it should be, then, well, there's not just one single solution for a website. There are lots of different alternatives out there. And that's where I think it gets confusing for a lot of agents to try to pinpoint and decide, where do I even fucking start? Because there's just all these things that are out there.
Yeah, I think it's, some of that is like, what do you want? I mean, I talk to agents, they don't want internet leads. Well, then you probably don't really need our system. But the worst place to be is you're wearing basketball shoes running a marathon and you think you have the running shoes on, because I do a lot of teaching, a lot of classes, and, I've had this website for years and it's not producing anything. Well, yeah, it was never set up to do anything. It's not supposed to be anything more than a brochure. So if you're not spending money to, drive traffic to it, pay-per-click or Facebook advertising, YouTube, you don't expect anything because it was never meant to do that. And maybe, a brochure website is really what you need. Maybe, you've been in the business a while, you have referrals. So, I know a lot of people, going after leads online is not very appealing. Yeah. I know for myself as an agent, I realize I own an IDX company. I would much rather have a referral than an internet lead from somebody I don't know. The best case scenario is, if you don't work with Dave, we're never going to talk to you again. He took care of, he's going to take care. I mean, that's the kind of referrals agents want. And I don't know that you're going to get that from an internet lead, but, and there's a place, I think internet leads, it's definitely valid, but I think agents struggle with, they don't know what to, once you have a lead, what do you do with it? They have to be nurtured. There's a plan you have to have in place for, contacts. And I see some CRMs now allow for texting. Yeah. So if you're buying leads and you call them once, they're not interested, click and never do anything with it, that you're wasting your time. You're wasting your money. You must have some type of integrated plan with a CRM, something. So,
right. Well, yeah, and whether we're talking about website leads or leads from Zillow or Trulia, Realtor.com, all internet traffic leads do tend, or at least start out as very cold leads. Yeah. And there is a process, there's a conversion process to get that, to warm that lead up and hopefully potentially turn that into a qualified buyer or even a new listing appointment. And I think what happens is the way I approach it, and there's lots of different approaches and there's not one right or wrong, but I like to approach it as the website, you should be providing a certain experience for the consumer when they land on your page. So everything I'm thinking about on the website, I'm thinking about, is it mobile friendly? Is what are the graphics, the images that are used on it, the fonts? Is it easy for someone to land on the website and then navigate to something that's of value to them? And then that becomes the next connection, is that the website has to provide value. If you want the website to turn leads back to it, leads back to you, and if you want it to be part of how you're building an online presence, then that website has to represent you in such a way. And the only way to do that effectively is not by showing off all these things that you could do or all these things that you've done. It's by giving more information, and information is very valuable in that respects. Offering home buyers, for me, it's about offering home buyers a ebook on how to buy a house, offering homeowners an ebook on how to sell a house, and giving them tools and resources that they need so that your website becomes something that is of value to the people you're trying to connect with.
Yeah, and that's, user experience has always been on the, top of mind for us. If you look at the maps that we've created, you got to start looking. I'm using a Mac right now, but I also use a PC, and things are going touchscreen. So, it's not just cell phones. So
yeah,
we've really, one of the things I've always hated was the map experience for real estate. So I want to give a great user experience for somebody to come back to my website just because it's easy to look for things. So, we've created a map that's got a very unique touch experience to get the data that you want. So, if you work in North Scottsdale, for example, well, we have those maps, and it's just real simple to touch on the screen, different areas, and really dig into what you want quickly without having to try to figure it out. It's just visual. It's got a tactile experience. And most of all, it's just simple, and it looks good, and it makes sense. And that's what will keep people coming back to your site if you're an agent. That's really what you want.
And that's what I wanted to ask you, because I think that brings up an interesting point here, because I just had a conversation today with an agent who said she really struggles with people coming back to her site. When she meets with them, she tells them to go to the site, they go in there and search, and then inevitably, then they bring her a listing from, one of these big conglomerate websites that does a lot of mass marketing, the big keyword, if you will, and brings them some kind of listing that's outdated. And she's like, why are you going there when you can go to my website and have accurate information?
Well, and you know what? Let me jump in there, because I love that you brought that point up, Jayson. And I think it's an important point. I think it's something we should discuss here. And I think there's a lot of different opinions about this right now. What you said happens every fucking day all over the country with agents everywhere.
Right.
That whether they're giving them listings from the MLS or they're giving them listings from their own website or whatever, buyers today are going to make a choice, I believe, in where they're going to gather their real estate data from. So whether it's a Zillow, Trulia, Realtor, Redfin, one of the giant websites, the majority of them are making those kind of choices. And even when the realtor tells them exactly what you just said, Jayson, that the realtor say, why do you go back to these sites? The listings are outdated and stuff. At this point in time, the consumers don't really care. They want the information available like right now, and they want it accurate. They don't understand why it's inaccurate, but they want it accurate. And that, to me, that's where consumers are stuck at. They want to get the data from the website that they've chosen up to that point in the home buying process.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, right? They're a little bit misinformed, because they bring that stuff from these other, big advertising. They see, top of Google, and nobody wants to scroll down on a Google page. So they click on the first one up there, and all of a sudden they see this outdated stuff, but they don't know it's outdated.
No, they don't.
It's
but it's it's within the first top 5 results that Google or Bing is giving them back.
Right.
So you put in any address, and Zillow or Trulia, it's just going to be there, so they're going to click on it.
Right.
So that's where I think an agent really has to educate their client, if they have the opportunity to, why they need to go to your website. Like, our data is up to date. Every 10 minutes it pings, the MLS that we're connected to. I still get calls I have a rental that I rented 8 years ago, the same tenant's still in there. Every quarter or sooner. Yeah, is that property on 90th? Is that still available? No.
Pretty nice voice you got there, Dave.
Pretty good. So yeah, it's just like, all right, how is this? That hasn't been on that was 8 years ago and it's still on there. So,
well, what advice would you give a realtor for their website? I mean, I know you help people, realtors in particular, build websites or whatever. Is it just simplicity? Because I think sometimes realtors overthink their websites, right? They have to be the sexiest thing out. People just want information. I don't know if they really care.
I like clever thinking. Like, when you're thinking about how to use data, I mean, that's really where you get success. I mean, when I started off in 1989 as an agent, and there was no computers really, there was no internet, and I went to a couple classes and I got an idea. I was like, I went to a Joe Stump class before he was by referral only. And I bought a really simple archaic database from him. It had an orange screen, and I used to drive around in my car because I got this idea I could mail postcards, which sounds wow. Well, back then postcards were
brilliant. Brilliant.
No, the old farts in the office where, Dave, you can't mail those. That's unprofessional. We're going to talk to the broker. I mean, that's kind of where that was. This was the same office that voted down the fax machine. So anyway, so I drove around in my car.
City, right?
What's that?
That was in Sun City, Arizona.
No, this was in Scottsdale.
Oh, okay.
They had old people back then in Scottsdale.
Okay.
So yeah, I drove around. I would write down the addresses, and then every night I'd type them in. And then I had 3 months. I had 7,000 or 8,000. So I would just mail the postcards. That came from my idea. Now I've seen our agents doing some very clever things with the data that I never thought of. And I'll see people post on Facebook like homes for sale in 85254 without an HOA. What are the most expensive homes in Paradise Valley? Now, these are things that are different than, hey, I got a new listing, or come to my open house. I don't live in Paradise Valley. It's some of the most expensive real estate in the country. Will I click on that? I probably would, because I'm curious. I'm curious about, what homes in Silverleaf are selling for, another expensive area.
Right.
I live right near there. I don't know what are they selling in there for? Well, I'm going to click on that. Well, that's driving traffic back to your website. It's also making content that someone else can find that you may not even know. As well as creating those landing pages, like spring training's right around the corner. The Cubs fans are coming back. Let's make a search for homes near, I forget where the Cubs play. Where do they play in Mesa? Yeah,
Mesa. They just built a big stadium down there for them.
Yeah, let's draw a circle around the stadium, and we can target that, people in Chicago or Cubs fans on Facebook and start marketing that stuff.
Well, I want to talk to you about that because I think you're kind of tapping into something that I don't think many people are doing. And you and I have talked about this off camera quite a bit. And that is taking some of the local things that you have in your area and piggybacking off of what they have. Like you mentioned, the Cubs and spring training and things like that, using that as part of your SEO. It's not necessarily just being at the top of Google, but backing off things too.
That's called hyper local content, and hyper local content does actually work. And it's probably, I would say you should have 3 parts. To me, if we broke it down, there'd be 3 parts of the website. You got to have real estate information, stuff that actually helps buyers and sellers, give them all the tools, the resources they need to go through the process. And then the hyper local content, that is stuff that you're trying to do. You're trying to connect with people that are already living and living life and doing things in the areas that you're servicing. So like for you guys in Phoenix, if you, I would have a hyper local page. If I was working Scottsdale in that area there, I would have a hyperlocal page that would be reviewing restaurants, nightclubs, malls, shopping districts, all the ins and outs of what life and living is there. The best studio, the best yoga studios, the best places for working out or trainers, the best sushi restaurants, and
hiking trails.
Yeah, hiking trails. All the stuff that's of interest to people that actually live there, and even are going to go about living there. Because what happens that when you provide that type of information and you add like your own little spin to it, a little bit of personality, that goes a really far way, and that makes you more of an authoritative person on the whole subject of this is what's going on in the area. And that can be really powerful stuff.
Well, I think it goes even a little bit farther than that. I have an agent who's a friend of mine. You can actually look him up, Sean Hahn. It's SEANHAHN. And he shot lots of videos of restaurants and mountain biking at points of interest. And he still would shoot videos of all his listings and that kind of thing. But his business just really took off on social media because people started to get to know him, what he's about. When you're making those kind of videos, you're making friends with the restaurant owner or the nightclub or wherever you're at. They like that. They won't forget you because you made them something of value they can use.
Right.
So it really
puts you in a connection. Yeah, it puts you in a connection, a position to be a connector.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that is a much more valuable place to be as an agent, to be a connector and be truly involved in your community. And that's a great way to get into your community.
And you can also post, you can post those things on your own. It doesn't have to be on your business page. You can post that right on your personal Facebook page. If you went to a cool restaurant or, I know he did one where they make the Palo Solari bells, which was pretty cool. And people love that.
I've seen those videos. They're good.
Yeah.
And people remember those.
Yeah, people remember them that way. I think you said, Dave, that it brings your personality. It kind of shows who you are, and people want to hear an opinion if it's valuable to them. And if you got your own spin on things like that, that's what people want. They want to hear that kind of stuff, and then that makes you look more like an actual real person instead of just a salesperson.
Right. Well, and I think it's important here too that we mentioned a lot of realtors that I speak with, they get a website, they pay lots of money for the domain because they think it's a cool name on the domain. And then they put an IDX on it and then they forget about it.
Wait a minute. I've heard that before. Ron Popeil said it and
forget it.
Very good.
Doesn't work like commercial.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't work that way. You have to promote it. And part of doing what you're talking about, Dave, I preach as well, because it keeps it relevant, it keeps it current, and it kind of gives you something to do to promote the page, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. So you make a video, you want to do something with it, put it on your webpage. Now, let me ask you though, Dave, in regards to that, do you suggest putting that like on the front of the webpage, or do you have tabs? What's the best kind of design, if you will, for a real estate webpage?
It just depends. A lot of it's going to come down to strategy. Like I have a test website that I use, but I use it, as if I still have a real estate license, but I like to experiment with things to see what works. So I have a blog in WordPress, and I created a category called Things to Do in Scottsdale. So if you look at houses, Scottsdale, Arizona, you can see how I have that set up. So I have blog, and then right below it, it's Things to Do in Scottsdale. And I just use my iPhone. I'm out doing things. I'm there anyway. So I'll just shoot a video, a minute and a half. I don't want to make it a whole project, especially if I have my 4-year-old with me. But, I posted, I took her to this butterfly wonderland. I figure it's like an indoor, anyway, I don't forget what they call it. I posted that on there, put it on Facebook, and people, I had people, that looked really cool. I've driven by it. I think I'm going to go. That looked pretty cool. But people remember that.
Well, we had some mentions in the chat there too about, Periscope and realtors finding a way to use Periscope. I think that's a perfect way to use Periscope. And situations like that, you do a Periscope and then use, the catch me or catch.me or whatever it is.
Right.
That video and captures it, and then you can repurpose it for the Facebook and everything like that. But you're killing like 3 birds in one stone or whatever with one stone by doing.
It's not just all real estate content. People that are moving are looking for things to do.
Yeah.
They want to know about the schools. They want to know about the shopping. They want to know, what is there to do there? I'm coming from New York City, and Arizona seems like a wasteland. I need to show people that there's a lot of stuff to do here now.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing, video. The video content, I think a lot of agents miss this. And I think it's like 1% of agents are shooting video. and the statistics from NAR, like 78% of people selling their homes want agents to have video. So there's a big gap there, and a huge opportunity. Those videos stay out there forever. They gain, they get better and better, and they will continue to get more and more traffic. So, you'll never have enough content on your site. I tell agents, you're never going to call me, Dave, I'm done with my site. And I'm going to say, no, you're not. Keep blogging.
Right. You never actually get done with your site, right?
It's never done.
Yeah. It's a continual process of improving it, adding things to it, changing it. It never ends. And I think that's probably the biggest roadblock a lot of agents have with the website. It's like, a lot of times they don't know that, but there is no such thing as you just buy a website out of a box and then you never fuck with it again, unless that is all you need. If you just need a place card holder that's online, it just kind of has your name on it and some useless information, and that may be your strategy and plan, which is totally cool. Then that's all you need. But if you really want to get into what is going to be around in 2016 and it's not going away, you have to have some type of a web presence, and the website is the central part of your whole web presence. And you just can't, even if you're going to go, even if you said you want to go onto Facebook and run Facebook marketing campaigns on your fan page, you have to have a website. There's just no way to do it without a website. You got to bring them back somewhere. You got to collect email addresses. There's a lot of strategy behind it and stuff. So
you do want to have a self-hosted website. I learned 9 or 10 years ago. I had, with the mortgage company we were using, I forget if it was Blogger or WordPress.com. I can't remember, but 2 years of blogging on a separate blog outside of our main site. We went to it one day and everything was gone because we apparently had violated some policy. Facebook fan pages, those can disappear. You get somebody, your competition may decide to turn you in, and who knows, someone who's reviewing that stuff says, oh yeah, click, you're gone. So don't get too invested in anything you don't own. But your self-hosted stuff, all roads lead to Rome. That's your website, and that's where everything should be going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That you should want to own your own website. And the awesome thing about the way things are today is that it's very cheap and affordable to be able to own your own website today, which like 10 years ago, it would have cost you thousands of dollars to put a website together and to host it and all that stuff. And today you could literally host a website on GoDaddy, a WordPress website on GoDaddy for like $3 a month,
even less.
Yeah. Although I would like a managed WordPress solution just in case, so I have some problems.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think when you're starting out, when I started out on my first websites, I had them hosted on HostGator.
Yeah.
And I think, and then I went on the Bluehost when I had problems at HostGator. And then I moved on to, moved on to like more better hosting. And now I use stuff from Copyblogger. And when you're starting out, and I'm building 2 websites right now for 2 agents, and for them starting out, they're just putting their first pieces of content in the website. They're just starting to learn WordPress. I recommend it to them. Start with WordPress hosting first because it's cheap, it's affordable, and as you start adding more content to it, and as you start growing the website, at a later point, you're going to want to upgrade your hosting. Because when you deal with a WordPress or WordPress hosting on GoDaddy, HostGator, or Bluehost, and you're on that, I don't know what the right terminology is, but when
it's shared hosting.
Yeah, shared hosting. There's going to be a point in time when that server goes down, and when that goes down, sometimes it can last like a week or 2, and that's a pain you have to go through.
Well, the problem with shared hosting is you don't know who's coming on. Like, they're going to be using tons of bandwidth, and then it slows everyone else. So I got tired of dealing with all that. We finally ended up going on our own dedicated server on Amazon, which has been awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
I should probably be an affiliate for them, but unfortunately not a paid endorsement, but it's been terrific.
But that's the cool thing. You could start cheap and affordable, absolutely. And you can move, and the sky's the limit, in terms of like how technical you want to get. And over time, you'll just learn it. You'll pick up all the secrets and the tricks and the strategies behind it, as long as you follow people like Dave and to walk you through the journey of managing and hosting your own website.
You don't have to be our client. If you go to I Found Agent, there's tons of resources, tutorials, hours and hours of video on, my partner he's an ex-nuclear chemist. He's probably one of the best real estate SEO guys on the market. He's got classes on how to write real estate content. It's very different than writing other types of content. As far as I've seen, he's the only one that's really put anything out there. Different strategies for, have you thought about using your website in a listing presentation? You can do that. There's a really clever way you can do that, and that gets back to really thinking about, a niche. Your seller's going to probably ask you at some point, "How do you get this house in Google? We need exposure online."
Yeah.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I use a tool that really goes after people that are looking for properties in this area. If I was an agent right now, depending on the kind of IDX you're using, I would first thing I would do when I sold a house, or, once I got the commission check on my hand and it closed, I would set up a sold search, or I want to send that my buyer who's now, I've just closed, I want to send them a link maybe every other month or every quarter. Here's the solds in your neighborhood for the last 6 months. Because it's just an easy touch point to stay in front of them. That is a set it and a forget it. That's a Ron Popeil one. So you just set that one up once in your whatever CRM you're using, and that's a real easy one. That you can set that up on probably most IDXs, and ours, that link stays live forever. So you just set it up one time.
I think it's also important. It's your home base, and your listings, your personal listings, need to be on your own website when they're active. But I think also once you sell them, you still want those classified as sold in your website, and that should serve as your portfolio for the kind of work you do. Especially if you're putting together virtual tours and using professional photography, you want your clients to see the kind of work that you put together when you're marketing a house. And there's no better way to show that or demonstrate that than on a listing page on your own website.
Oh, absolutely. We've got a client, Scott Graff. It's thegraffgroup.com. If you look at his blog, he does individual listing pages, does a professional video. Yeah. He's got awesome photos, the features. If he's got a floor plan, that's on there, because his attitude is, I want a brochure that I can give to another agent that they can give to their client. That's what this is for. Mm-hmm. Now, what the other agent on the other end doesn't realize, the brochure is actually going to, their buyer, which then they're sending it out to, hey, what do you think of this house? We're looking at it. But and again, all that content you make, that stays out there. It's all searchable for the future, depending on what people are looking at. But he hangs a sign writer up. He's got his listing presentation. It's right on there. So not only does he pick up buyers, but he picks up listings too, because they're not used to seeing a quality HD video that's been shot, in cinematic quality on an actual movie camera. Professional photography that's not HDR. Can we be honest about the HDR photography? It's total garbage. It looks terrible, everybody. Don't use it. Find someone that's going to shoot a RAW file and edit it so they look beautiful, because it does make a difference.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. HDR, what's unfortunate is that the real estate community gets sold on HDR, and the photography companies like VHT, Circle Pics, and there's a whole bunch of them across the country. They sell HDR services, has an upgrade on pictures. And so they sell it, and it sounds cool at first, like high dynamic range, and look at these pictures, they look awesome and everything else. And agents kind of fall for it. They kind of say, wow, I think I need to have that. It looks all shiny and new and everything. But you're exactly right, Dave. That's an HDR photo is not the way you represent a house online to potential buyers.
George, I know you can answer this question. Why are they shooting HDR?
Why are they shooting HDR?
Why are the companies shooting HDR?
Because it's an upsell. It's a pure upsell. It's easy to do.
It's easy to do. The camera does it in the camera. They don't have to edit it a lot.
Yeah.
And they can bang that stuff out. That's why it's 42 cents.
Yeah.
You can have someone for $150, $200 shoot some really nice photos using, flash or lighting or whatever, and they look different. They look better.
Well, but let's keep everything in perspective, right? Because there are some properties out there that, quite frankly, don't even deserve HDR, right? So you got to be selective on what you're doing. I always tell agents, you can't polish a turd. You know what I mean? So if it's a turd,
try.
You can try. You get a little messy doing it, but you can try.
There's a price point. You're exactly right. There is some kind of minimum price point for a lot of agents, depending on what their marketing budget is going to be for the properties. Obviously, if you at a certain point, what's 100 G's, 150, you should be having that real estate photographer. Just to give you an example, I'm not trying to sell my fucking services, but like I charge $150 for a photo shoot on a house. And that seems to be about a decent price wherever you're at in the country, somewhere between $125 to $175 for the shoot. And for that, the equipment and the technology is so advanced that it doesn't, for the photographer, it doesn't require a whole lot of skills and a whole lot of extra work, manpower to put those photos together and still look absolutely stunning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've shot HDR, I've shot RAW. It might take me an extra 15 or 20 minutes to do the editing on RAW, and I don't know.
Yeah, and what Dave's talking about is that when you're shooting photos with a DSLR camera, you actually shoot the photo in a RAW format, and that's an uncompressed format. So it's like for most people, you've done pictures on your phone and they come out as a JPEG or a PNG file. A JPEG is just a compressed file size, and then what happens is that it compresses it so you can share it online, deliver it in emails and all that kind of stuff. But what happens is that it constricts the properties of the photo. When you shoot it in RAW, you can take that photo into a photo editing program like Lightroom or Photoshop, and you can manipulate that photo and improve it even more and make it look natural and kick ass at the same time. And that's the whole point. Like in my opinion, you want the house to look exactly the same way it looks in person as it does online, and it has to look the same way online as it does in person. Because if it looks better in the pictures than it does in real life, you're going to disappoint the buyer when they get to the house. And you're going to make that buyer just make a circle in and out of the house. And the first thing they're going to say is that the pictures look better than the house. And then once they get that, they're turned off on the house. That's it. It's like if you go on a date and and you're like on Match.com.
People actually like to notice the HDR photography if they've had that. Oh, wait, that's I know that doesn't look like that.
Mm-hmm. It's all the lighting.
It's all the lighting. It's all the lighting. I was single just until recently. I was on Match.com, and you'll have girls that there's actual apps out there that will take your photo and they sort of smooth out your skin, and they take the photo at an angle up like this, and it sort of makes them look a little bit slimmer. And
they puckered their lips, and
and you see them in person. It's not the same. It's just they're like different. It's like, well, what's the difference here? And it's very upsetting. But that's what happens to the buyer when they see HDR photos.
Right. Let me ask you this, Dave, because we talk about video. I'm a big believer in video. I know Jorge's a big believer in video. You are as well.
Yeah.
What's the right mixture on a website? Because video seems to, captures everybody's attention.
Mm-hmm.
Captivates them, holds them on your website a little longer, which is what you want. You can have your call to actions. There's so many different things that you can do with video. But what's the right mixture? Because I've seen some real estate, websites that are nothing but video, just blocks of video everywhere. And that seems like a little bit overwhelming to me. Maybe, I don't know. But I want to get your opinion.
Like I can speak to our system. Video, depending on how you're doing it or what you're doing it with, it's definitely going to take longer than actually sitting down and writing, a piece of content. Our system can turn out a blog post in a minute or 2 minutes. I've spent hours and hours and hours on videos. I don't know that you have the time to do that unless you're going to hire somebody. But, on our system, people, as an agent, they're going to ask, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom house in Arcadia.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to make that blog post on my website, but I'm going to send it to my client. I've just blogged and I've served my client. So, you know, I haven't made myself more work. I haven't said, oh, I got to blog today. No, I did that just because I'm going to do that anyway. And that's a smart way to work on your site than, I got to write a blog post so I can get a leads. No, you just start off. Don't think about what you need to do. Just take care of your clients and use your blog with it. Now, you know, like, you know, what George is talking about with video, you know, keep it simple. You know, if you're out somewhere with your cell phone, just make a little video. I have an iPhone. I can shoot it, edit it in iMovie, and upload it from Facebook all within 5 minutes. So that doesn't take me long. But I can crank out more blog posts than I can be at certain locations. So I kind of a hard question to answer, but I think you can probably do more blog posts than video.
Well, I look at some of these and I just say, well, you know, just put that on your YouTube channel. I mean, if you're going to do nothing but video, just put it on your YouTube channel, because that's the second most search engine, you know, second.
I like it both. I want it on YouTube, but I also want that content on my website. I might write my content. I'm going to write my content different for both places because I'm giving myself a better chance to be found.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the way you want to do it. YouTube, use it as a search engine. It's a place where you can host videos for free, but it's a driver of traffic if you do it correctly back to your website, which is the whole point of all this stuff, is getting people back to your website. Which is the home base of your whole online presence, right?
Mm-hmm. All roads lead to Rome.
Yeah, I like that. All roads lead to Rome. You know, with the videos, there's a lot of different ways you can do videos, where it's through virtual tours or doing hyper local content, like you were just saying, with going to local restaurants and local things in the area, or even just on homeowner and home buyer type videos, like instructional how-to type stuff. The key, I think, always, and going back to what we talked earlier about the website stuff, is that the content has to be valuable to the person you're making the video for. So if you're going to go out there and make the video and just be like, I closed this many houses this year and I'm in the top 10% of realtors in, you know, Sonoma County or whatever the fuck, that buyers don't care about that and sellers don't care about that. They what they're looking for is something that's valuable to them. So if you're going to make a commercial on your video, that's not going to help you. And if you add a lot of fluff and don't get to the point sooner, then they're not going to stay through to the video. You can get someone to watch a video that's 5 minutes long, but it's got to be good content. No matter how important you think your material is, it has to be important for them, not for you, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I love that. We could probably go do a whole other episode on just the video topics alone, on, you know, between how to film them, how to produce them, and even just on the topics and what kind of stuff should you be filming and come up with.
Well, you know, Google just came out with their, you know, top search things of the year for 2015 trends, or whatever they call it, Google Trends or whatever. And one of the articles I saw was live streaming and video. Yeah. That's kind of a trend in the future. And they weren't speaking specifically of real estate. They were just speaking of in general. And with video and what we're talking about, you're absolutely right. Like you said at the beginning of this, Dave, 1% of the realtors are actually doing it. That's such a low number. It's like,
which is great. That's an opportunity. That's
blue ocean opportunity, right? For the agent out there. And I always tell agents, look, you can talk about the same thing that your competitor's talking about, but say it in a completely different way that may capture somebody's attention that the other person didn't capture. So there's so much creativity that can happen within the video. That even if it was saturated, it's still a blue ocean opportunity. I mean, look at how many YouTube videos are out there about how to put on makeup. Mm-hmm. There's thousands,
and add your own add your own flavor to it. Add your personality into it. Let yourself be the way you are in real life on the video, and that's how you make that connection. You have to be real. Like if you're going to go out there and put on your best suit and, you know, stand up straight and tall and read off a script and everything else, that's just not going to fly. You have, you know, if you, just like on this call right now, you know, the cool thing about Blab is that it's totally laid back. I could be doing this show in my underwear, and we're drinking a beer.
I don't know that you're not actually.
But you're having a good conversation. But the one thing is that everybody on this Blab Talk and well, me and Jayson been doing it, everything's completely real. There's no upsell or anything like that. And when people are clicking to watch videos, the whole point of making the videos, you want people to watch the video and hear your message and stuff. And the only way people will watch is if it's interesting. And the only way to make it interesting is think about them, the person you want to connect with while you're making it. And once you do that,
or leave your closet open so you can look at the closet. People can make up stories about what they think they're seeing there. Wait a minute, is that women's clothing or men's clothing?
What's going on back there?
Hey, but real quick here, Dave. I was a little speechless there for a second.
Yeah, a little off topic.
Real quick here, though, I want you to talk a little bit more about SEO. Yeah. I know you get asked about that a lot. I get asked about that a lot. Video seems to have, at least on YouTube, if you post it on YouTube, has some SEO juice, if you will, to it, if it's done right. But on a website, more specifically, can video help your SEO rankings? Or does it matter?
I'm not positive about the current information that Google's giving out, but I from the past I know that having video on your website will, Google likes that because they own YouTube, obviously, so they're looking for, they want to display that. So I know that it helps. Can I measure that and tell you, it's 2.4%? But I don't know that answer, but I definitely think it's better to have it than not have it.
It leads to how long does somebody spend on pages within your website? That's what Google's actually measuring. So when somebody lands on your website, they are measuring how long people stay on there and how many links they click on your website that stay within the website and as they peruse through it. The longer someone stays on your website and the more time that they spend on different pages within your website, Google that goes into the algorithm of Google.
And it's super easy to do, right? I mean, even here on Blab, I take the embedded code and I put it onto my website, right? And so people can actually watch this Blab straight from my website. They don't have to actually come to Blab to watch it.
Right. Well,
that's the cool thing about, the embedded in the video on your website, like you're talking about, Jorge.
I hope Blab's not listening, but I'd rather have them come to my website and watch Blab than on Blab.
No, Blab's cool with it. At least from what I can see. I've gone on the town hall meeting. The more people that know about Blab, the better.
Yep.
Now, if they want to participate, then they have to click on it and they have to come to Blab to participate. But to strictly watch it, they can actually watch it from the website.
Right.
So
now, on the other side, the SEO, which I'd like to hear from you, Dave, is and we talked a little about this yesterday on the phone, and that is we're talking about SEO. And for real estate agents that don't know what it is or don't know exactly what it is, let's go ahead and Dave can tell everybody what SEO actually is, just so we got everyone at the same page.
Yeah, we'll keep it real simple. I mean, SEO just stands for search engine optimization, and I think there's probably some misconceptions like Google doesn't want to work with me and helping me on my website. And the reality is, the easier you make it for Google to understand what's on your page, the more likely you will end up on the first page of Google for what you want to get found for. So, there's some simple things to follow. Title, I think, is one of the more important things when you're writing your blog page. So don't write a sensational headline. If you've got a 3-bedroom house in if you got a 3-bedroom house in Arcadia, that's remodeled, don't talk about a super fabulous and different, sensational headlines will not help you at all.
Yep.
But I think more importantly for agents is you got to be very specific and laser focused. Stop writing or stop trying to get like for Phoenix. You're not going to get Phoenix real estate agent. It's not going to happen. People have been working on that for 15 years. But you can get, Sweetwater Ranch homes for sale.
Yeah.
Right.
You can get Scottsdale Ranch homes for sale.
Can you?
You can get horse properties for sale in 85260. Those you can get.
You can get. There's no way Scottsdale Ranch homes for sale is still available. Okay, is that possible? Seriously, if that's possible, I'll buy that. I'm going to look for that. I would buy it right now.
No, I'm talking about getting not the domain. Actually,
get the rankings.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about domain. Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about getting rankings. It's probably I would buy it too.
Yeah,
I want to get this point out there about, because the NAR, or I think it was National Association of Realtors, did a study with Google. I think it was about 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's 3 years ago. Right? It was the host, the buyer's house hunt, the buyer's digital house hunt, something like that.
What are they searching for? Yeah. Right? When people search for a home, what are the keywords that they're typing in?
Top 3 things.
No, there's 5 things. I always tell agents there's 5 things.
Because I see. I mean, I've seen stats. It's usually like the same.
It's homes for sale, blank the name of the city.
Well, here I'll give you the 5, because every time I've done it with the videos that I do for YouTube, it always ranks at the top on a Google search, and that is number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, schools, zip code, and city.
I see subdivisions are big too.
Yeah,
and subdivisions are big as well. But those are the 5 major. And here in Arizona, pool, you can make an argument for pool. You can make an argument for number of car garage, because we don't have, a lot of storage space and all that.
No.
So there are some things that are going to be a little more specific to your area. But if you just pick those 5 things right there, you're going to, like you said, Dave, be able to rank pretty well in a Google search, because people are typing those things in for a Google search. They'll type in 4-bedroom home in Scottsdale Ranch 85054 or whatever it is.
Now, once a buyer figures out, or once they figure out where they want to be, they're looking for those specific things. Because I remember, we want to live in Scottsdale, and it ends up they fall in love with Powderhorn Ranch, and that's the only place they're looking until they can find a house. So they're going to be looking for specific things, and that's really where the opportunity is right now. So that stuff's really wide open.
Yeah.
I always tell agents too, you don't want the person who's just typing in Phoenix homes for sale, because they're just getting bombarded with all kinds of. You want, after they've already kind of made their decision of exactly where in Phoenix they want to live, that's when you want to capture their attention.
The riches are in the niches.
Yeah, you don't want the tire kickers. They're time wasters in a lot of cases, So you want the people who are serious about what they're looking for, and the only way you know that is by what they're searching for. And if they're real specific, or more specific than just a general search,
you'll get less traffic, but it's the right traffic.
Exactly.
So we established that keywords and how you write the title of your blog posts or pages are extremely important for SEO rankings for Google, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then after that, it still becomes about the content that's on the page, because the content on the page, the way I've been taught is every line should be written so that the viewer reads the next line, and then the next line after that. It's just writing 101. And as someone goes through a blog post, and whether it's even for a listing or some hyperlocal content like we talked about, you want to be writing short paragraphs. And it has to be really easily consumable, so that you have to picture somebody actually reading it on a mobile device, and they're perusing through it quickly, and they're scanning through it almost, instead of like reading it like a book. And you're thinking about that, because that's what's going to keep them there longer, and you have to think of ways to deliver that information to them so they can consume it more quickly.
I agree.
The way content writing's changed a lot in 10 years from what I've seen. So it started off with, I think everybody remembers reading. You get to a website and you start reading, and it's just like stuffed full of keywords, and it doesn't make any sense. It sounds like a computer wrote it. Well, that stuff doesn't work anymore. It has to be well written. It has to make sense. Now you can have the keywords in there, but you really don't need to mention a keyword 10 times anymore. In fact, if you do that, that's probably not going to rank well.
Yeah.
So.
Because if you're making good content and you're writing good content, naturally, your keywords will be within the content itself, and you shouldn't have to worry about that after you've written your title. And,
you write for people, not search engines anymore.
Yep. And the Google algorithm, every year, every quarter, every time they make a change or update to it, it gets smarter and smarter. And like what you were saying, Dave, stuffing a page with a bunch of keywords was a trick we used to do back in, even up to like about 2009, we were still doing stuff like that. And but that doesn't work anymore. Like the algorithm can see it and they know it, and once that happens, they say that there's nothing valuable in this page, so we're not going to show it,
right?
Or we're going to push it way back.
Agreed, and they just don't make sense, and then you end up turning people off too when they do read it, because there are people who do read it, but you know,
well, you want people to come back. So if it's not well written or it just doesn't make any sense, they're not coming back.
Yeah, they're not coming back, and you lose credibility, right? I mean, as an agent, you want credibility. This is your way to showcase your credibility without actually having to talk to somebody. Is showing how professional you are and what you write.
When did Al Gore invent the internet? What was that?
I think he invented the internet. Was it in 2000? Was it in the 2000 election?
Yeah, right.
The internet's been around, what, 20? I don't even know. Like, people have caught on. They know now. So yeah, you're not going to get away with that stuff.
Right. There. I think when it comes to SEO, there are no more tricks. There's no more hacks. There's no more tricks to it. It's all about authenticity and valuable content. And the way I view it, at least, that's only how it works. I've
yet to see a real estate video go viral. So don't think. I mean, I'm sure
they do something.
Well, I know, but I think people have this misconception in their mind that they got to make this post that's going to go viral and overthink it a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Instead of just putting it out there. Don't overthink it. Just do it.
Consistency is way more important than trying to make that one magic post that just gets out there. I can tell you, I have one real estate agent. He does all his virtual tours with me, and all his properties are in Chicago. So we've got about 50 virtual tours up over the last 2 years on all his listings. And in all those virtual tours, I use all the same keywords, homes for sale in Chicago and some other stuff. But he's got one video in particular, and it's one of the first ones that's got over 5,000 views on it. And that video, it's 2 years old, and it still gets played today. And so sometimes YouTube wants to see consistency also. And there are just sometimes some videos will just take off. And it all has to do with the Google search engine on YouTube is looking at the same types of things when they're looking at analytics for websites. How long does somebody stay on a video, and how long are they watching it for? And every minute they stay watching that video, that goes into the rankings algorithm that YouTube has. And the longer they stay watching the video, the more YouTube likes the video, and the more YouTube will pull that video up when a search going for that title tag that you put in there it gets inquired on.
Right. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, hey, we're going to wrap this up here. We're right at an hour here. Yeah, I know. Time flies, right, Dave?
Are we already in that? Holy shit.
Yeah, we're at an hour here. Time flies, man. So give us some parting thoughts here, Dave.
I want to hear some now. I want to hear some knowledge before you go. Give real estate agents a starting point if they if they don't have a website, or they really have no plan on where even to start with a website. What do they do?
Well, I mean, I can tell you what I see as pitfalls. I'll call this. We got 2016 coming up in the world of coaching. Doing well online, honestly, is not hard. It's mastering repetition. As human beings, we don't want to do the same thing over and over again. But if you're willing to do the same thing over and over again, good things will happen. Just like with getprequalified.com, we did the same thing over and over and over for 2 years. We wrote content, and we didn't pay a dime for any traffic. We'd get 60,000 views. My wife has a mediation website in Phoenix. We've worked on it for 7 years. It's made a lot of money. And when I look back on it, what's the one thing that was consistent? Well, it was repetition. So, I'll see agents, I blogged for 2 months straight and I got nothing. Well, yeah, you may not get anything for another year and a half, but you got to go into working on a website with the mindset, I'm going to do this just because I'm going to do it. You may not get a return on it immediately, and you might get some leads along the way. Social media can produce, and you do enough posts like what George is talking about. With that one video that got all the hits, some of it is like a slot machine. You're not going to get 4 lemons. What's the best one on the slot machine? 4 lemons.
or 4 or 3 lemons.
Whatever. Anyway.
Gambler, man, I don't know.
You just
I thought it was cherry.
You need a couple of those to hit. That's all it's going to take. But if you don't make them, nothing is going to happen. So you have to put the time in. And depending on the system you're using, it can be very efficient. So don't quit. Just keep going. And even when you don't feel like it or you don't want to do it, that's the best time to do it. So I don't know if that's the coaching you're looking for, George, but that's really it right there.
That's good advice, because the toughest part, I have the same problem too. I don't put out as much content as I was like to. Sometimes you get into a rut where you just can't get to producing the content, and other times you're on a roll where you're like a machine producing it. I think every blogger and everybody that uses their website to generate leads from comes across that problem. It's definitely tough to keep up that pace.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. With that being said, let's go ahead and wrap this up. And certainly, if you want to reach out to me, please visit my website, right? www.Valley of the Sun Real Estate Show. From there, connect with me on any social media, email me, call me. Anything is right there for your convenience. Give yourself a plug here, Dave. Jorge, same thing, and then let's wrap this up.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave. Tell us everyone how we can reach you.
My company website, ifoundagent.com. Again, don't have to be a client. Got tons of tutorials. You can follow me online at or Twitter at WordPress Dave. And thanks for having me. Love to do the video show. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. We're still going to talk to you after we hit stop here, but go ahead.
Yeah, and then no, this is really cool. It's cool talking to someone about websites, because I get geeked out about this kind of stuff, and I definitely dig it. But my name is Jorge Cuervas with Agent Redefined, and check out the website. There's tons of shit there for a real estate agent.
All right, cool, awesome. Hey, we do this every Wednesday. We're not going to be here next Wednesday. It's right before Christmas, so Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays to everyone out there for that. We will return next year, 2016, and we're going to do not the year review, but we're going to do the news for December 2015 in real estate. So it should be a good show. I've got a lot of news articles, so it should be a really good one. So do subscribe for that one.
Hey, are you going to cover anything about the interest rate hike that took place? Was it today or last night?
Yeah, I'll cover that on the news.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
But I will cover that.
Yeah, sure. That's interesting.
All right, cool. So thank you all for your support. Thank you for coming out, and I look forward to seeing you on the next Blab in 2 weeks. Take care.
Adios.